Hey everybody, it is Monday, February 4th. After the 30 and 30, I just took a few days off from vlogging, but now we're back. I have a towel on my head. Everything is right with the world. Somehow my towel, it's like a side pony. I have a side ponytail. I don't know. It's kind of like a Star Wars hairstyle. I'm digging it. But yeah, anyway, I read some books because, after reading 30 books in 30 days, the best way to, recover from that is to continue to read a whole bunch of books, which I did. So I have 4 books in total to talk to you about. Is that another freaking train? Okay, we're just gonna talk through this train because I am tired with this nonsense. My tail's coming undone. Oh, everything's falling apart. That's okay. We're keeping the bar low for these vlogs. It's good. So yeah, I have 4 books in total to update you guys on. I've completed 2 and I'm in the middle of 2 others, so really have not slowed my roll at all when it comes to reading. So I'm gonna get through these really fast because honestly I just want to watch more Merlin right now. So first and foremost, I did listen to the audiobook for Life, the Universe, and Everything by Douglas Adams, which is the 3rd book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. And it was just a really easy one for me to jump into after the 30 and 30. It was just a whole lot of absurdity and all the things that I've come to love from that series. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and it was an easy, palate cleanse. I don't know if that's the best way to describe those books, but it feels appropriate at this time. And then after that, I jumped into this duology here. This is the Monsters of Verity duology, which consists of This Savage Song, Ow, and Our Dark Duet. These are by Victoria Schwab. This is a young adult urban fantasy in which monsters are created through horrible human acts. So, when humans do, horrible things, they actually create monsters that exist in this world. And as one might guess, there's a lot of contingency, between the monsters and the humans. And there's several humans in this that are very malicious. And then there's monsters who are kind of more noble and try to act human-like. So, yeah, you can see some interesting, morality stuff playing out in this. So this is a dual perspective. You follow Kate, who is the daughter of kind of the overlord, mayor figure of the city of Verity. And then you have August, who is one of these monsters that kind of just poofed into existence. And he's one of the worst as far as the act required in order to create him. And you follow them along in their journey as the city of Verity is at odds with itself, and there's pretty much an all-out war about to break out. Overall, I think these books have planted a lot of great seeds as far as an interesting world, the potential for some really cool political intrigue, and it also has some interesting themes involving morality and good versus evil and all of that jazz. But I think ultimately it falls short on every mark. I don't feel like there's enough world building in these. I don't feel like there's really any political intrigue in this, and I felt like it was very much set up to have a lot of political intrigue, and these books just don't really have any, or not nearly enough in my mind. And I mean, just in general, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's set up that doesn't really happen. There's a lot of potential in these books, and I would love to see something amazing happen, but I'm halfway through the second one, and so far I'm just feeling like they're a little lackluster. Okay, and the final book that I have to talk about is Slayer by Kirsten White, and this is apparently canon in the Buffyverse, which I'm excited about. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my favorite show of all time, and this takes place after season 8. I believe that's right. It's been a while since I've read the comics, but based on what I'm reading in this so far, that seems to be the timeline that matches. So I'm just a couple chapters into this one right now. I am enjoying it quite a bit. It's pretty amusing to me. There is a lot of like backstory stuff that I don't really find necessary for myself because I'm so familiar with the Buffyverse. But I guess it would help those people who haven't seen the show in a while. It says you can read this without watching the show. I heavily advise against that because I want you to watch the show, and this has spoilers for the show. Like, it explains stuff enough to where you don't have to have the context of the show to understand this story, but it will ruin parts of the show for you if you want to watch that show at all, which I highly recommend. It is my favorite show of all time, so I mean, I would recommend not being horribly spoiled on it. I will say the most delightful aspect of this book is just how much everybody in it hates Buffy. Like, they hate Buffy. Buffy is like a swear word to them, and I just think that's great. That's my favorite part of this book so far. Okay, you ready? We're gonna time it. 1, 2, 3. And there's the kitty. Hey everybody, it is Wednesday. I did not update you guys at all yesterday because I worked 13 hours yesterday, and by the time I got home and had dinner and kind of got wound down, I was not having anything but bed. Bed was all that I had in me. So where am I on my reading? That would be a good thing to update you guys on. I finished Our Dark Duet. And yeah, so I'm not sure how well I did explaining my feelings about that book on Monday, and I'm not really sure I'm mentally at the place where I can explain my feelings on this book today, but I'm going to try to like summarize something about V.E. Schwab in general. And that is that she is an author that I really want to like more than I do. Like, I really like a lot of her concepts. I really like a lot of ideas that she has, but I just feel like overall, the books that I've read, which I've read this duology, and then I've read City of Ghosts and Darker Shade of Magic. Not the entire trilogy, just the first one. And overall, I just feel like I like a lot of the setup. Like, I like a lot of the stuff that could unfold, but none of that actually unfolds. Like, she just doesn't develop things enough for me, and I think that if she just did a little bit more with the things that she gave us, I would love her. Like, I think she would be one of my favorite authors because I really like a lot of her ideas and a lot of the seeds that she plants. She doesn't nurture them into anything that I'm just like, yes, this is what I wanted. It's more like, cool, that's some neat ideas, but what's I just am not satisfied at the end of those stories that I've read by her so far. So yeah, I really want to like her though. Like, there's a lot about her that I see like awesome potential in, and ultimately when I finish her books, I just feel like they're missing something. I also read Super Sons, which is the graphic novel which follows the shenanigans of Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne. My brain is so fried. And yeah, it's great. It is just a gorgeous thing that exists. It is a gift to all of humanity. Just watching these two boys run around as Superboy and Robin, and the just the back and forth. The back and forth is so good. There's just so much like preconceived notions that they have about each other because of who their fathers are, and it's just their back and forth banter. I cannot stop emphasizing how well done it is. And yeah, I've read the first volume, and I am immediately planning on reading the rest of them. They're so great. And yeah, finally, I started Waking Gods, which is the first in a trilogy by, oh my god, Sylvain Nouvelle. We're gonna hope that's right, because it's it's the end of a very long day after the end of a very long day. So I'm just gonna have to be a terrible person and not verify that. But I've been listening to the audiobook of this one, and this is a sci-fi which centers around the discovery of kind of like a colossi buried in the earth, but it's all like parted out, and like they have to find all of the different pieces and assemble it and figure out how it works and where it came from. And it is told again kind of like the Illuminate files, where it's all like interviews and journal logs and things like that. Mostly interviews, mostly conducted by this very G-man type figure, and he's really interesting. Like he's the right kind of G-man who likes to make people feel like he's getting personal, even though you can kind of tell that he's not giving anything away. And there's just a lot of really interesting characters involved, and I'm enjoying the variety and everything that's unfolding as they're discovering these pieces and trying to figure out what's going on with them. But yeah, I am ridiculously tired because not only did I had to work a really long shift yesterday, but then today I had to deal with computers crashing and all kinds of fun stuff. So, um, it is late and I am considering going to bed. It's not even really that late. It's not even 9:30, but I am just so exhausted. Can you tell what I've been watching? Literally, since finishing The Mists of Avalon, I cannot stop watching Merlin. And, you know what? It's okay. It's a good life. Hey, everybody. It is, Thursday, February 7th. Is that right? And yeah, I finished Waking Gods. No, Sleeping Giants. That's the name of the first book. Waking Gods, I believe, is the name of the second book. Question mark. Yeah, I finished Sleeping Giants. It's super intriguing. I really, really like want to jump into the rest of that trilogy right away, which I say about pretty much everything, which means that I'm probably gonna get to it at some time, like in the next 6 months. But I'm so like I want it. I want it so much. Also, like the format of that story lends itself so well to audiobook. Like the audiobook felt like the format that it was designed for. I don't know how I would feel about it just reading it, but listening to the audiobook, because so much of it is interviews and recorded dialogue, I was just I was in it and I wasn't gonna stop. But yeah, I finished that one and watched Merlin, and that's it. I got my 30 and 30 wrap up uploaded. I meant to do that on Tuesday, so I'm pretty proud of myself for only being 2 days late on that. But that's okay. It's all water under the bridge now, and yeah, I'm gonna watch some more Merlin because can't stop, won't stop. And I think I'm going to try to actually get a significant chunk of Slayer done tonight because I've had that book checked out of the library for a whole week now and have read 50 pages of it. I don't know, but I need to get further in it because I want to get that one done so I can tell you all of my feelings as like the super mega Buffy fan. What are my feelings? Hey everybody, it is Saturday, February 9th. I didn't check in yesterday. I had a little bit of like a stomach thing and I just wasn't feeling great. But I have done some reading since the last check-in, so let's get into that. So yesterday I started the audiobook for The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, and this is a reread for me. I read it during the summer, and I wanted to reread it before I got into the second book because there's a lot of world building in this first book. It actually, if I remember correctly, it started as a world building exercise, and then she kind of developed a series from that. But I wanted to just refamiliarize myself with everything before I jumped into the second one. But this is a Middle Eastern fantasy set in like 18th century Cairo, and it follows two perspectives. It follows Nari, which is a con woman who realizes that she is a mixed blood. She doesn't realize magic is something that exists until she discovers this. And yeah, she accidentally summons a Jinn warrior, and they go off to the city of Brass, which is Daevabad. And it's just a fantasy city that is hidden from all of these magical creatures and human alike. Additionally, you have the perspective of Ali, who is the prince. He's the Prince Ali of Daevabad. He is the second son, so he's not going to be king, but he is still like very politically charged and has very opinionated views on the state of all of this feuding families and fantasy beings, and yeah, it's just a lot. I can't really summarize it all. Like I said, there's a lot of world building in this, and it's also pulls from mythologies that I'm not super familiar with, so I think this reread was necessary for me because I want to really be familiar with everything when I go into the second book. When I first read this, I had some issues with the pacing. Like I felt like there was definitely like a section at the beginning that drug on way too long, and then there were sections in the middle that they kind of just skipped over that I would have really liked to see. But overall, especially once I got to the end, the ending was just so intriguing, and I really wanted to continue with the series. But I'm just over 200 pages into this book now, so I'm kind of through what I remember being like the slowest portion of the book, and then we're going to get into more stuff that deals with the actual city of Brass in the next section. And then I just remember the ending being super cool. Like the entire time I read it before, I was kind of I liked it. I thought it was a fine enough establishment of a series. Like, I mean, it definitely felt like it was a whole bunch of world building and a whole bunch of just establishing all of the set pieces for the rest of these books. But when I got to the end, I was super duper intrigued by some of the actions of characters that really felt like they didn't have a big role to play in the book, and then when you get to the end and kind of see how they reacted to some events that happened at the end, and you're just like, oh no, these people are like super on top of everything, and they should be watched at all times. But overall, this series I'm really excited about. I really like some of the directions that it seems to be going, and I can't wait to get into the second book. And this is a debut novel by S.A. Chakraborty, so I'm really like excited about what she's going to come out with in the future. Also, I am now halfway through Slayer. I'm going to wait until I have finished it to give all of my final thoughts. I have like watched some other people review this book, and it's kind of all over the place. Like some people really like it, some people hated it, and I feel like it just kind of depends on your mindset going into this. I went into this with fairly low expectations. I mean, I didn't ever want to compare it to Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I hold that in such high regard that I would just be setting this book up to fail. But overall, I think I'm gonna come out on the in favor of this book side of the discussion. But I'm gonna wait until I finish it, and hopefully I'll be able to do that today or tomorrow. I'll definitely try to get it in this vlog. But I don't really want to go in depth on this book until I'm done with it and really have all of the set pieces in mind when discussing it. It is fairly like generic YA tropey urban fantasy in a lot of ways, which is fine. That's kind of what I expected. But I feel like a lot of the problems that other people are having with this book, I'm not having with this book. Like a lot of people are specifically against this book because of the Buffy bashing that is in it. That makes perfect sense to me, and I love it. I love the fact that these characters don't like Buffy because it makes sense in this universe. These characters wouldn't like Buffy. Why would they? They just, I don't know. I'll get into my full thoughts on all of this once I finish it. I can't start talking about it now because then I won't stop. So I'm pretty sure I started this vlog with wet hair and wearing my Marvel nightshirt. So full circle. Hey everybody, it is Sunday and I just finished Slayer. That is all glare for you right there. So, final thoughts. It got a little weird at the end, like it was kind of overly convoluted, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. Like, I mean, I followed it all, but it didn't necessarily track as well as I had hoped it would. I think it was just a case of too many red herrings. Like, there was a lot of red herrings in this book, and yeah, I'm not really sure how I felt about the end result. But I do really think that this was a nice, like, homage to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and fit well in the Buffy canon. But it does like open up some questions on where this series is going in the future because the ending was not what I expected, and I'm actually really intrigued on where this series is going. So again, I can't get into too many specifics without starting to like spoil stuff from the show, and I really don't want to spoil things from the show. But in general, I guess just a little bit of a guidance post for people who aren't familiar with the Buffyverse at all. So in the Buffyverse, there are Slayers, and that is a girl who is chosen by some mystical force and is imbued with all of this power that allows her to be super strong and fast and have prophetic dreams and all of these abilities that she needs in order to face vampires, demons, and other oogity boogities. In addition, there are the Watchers, whose role is to train and inform the Slayers of their destiny. And there's typically in the canon of the universe a Watcher assigned to a Slayer. But this story is a little different. It's actually following a group of teens that are training to become Watchers, and one of them realizes that she is the latest Slayer. And so it's kind of like an all-encompassing, like, Slayer versus Watcher in one. And then the other interesting part is that this particular Slayer, Nina is her name, she is training to be a medic. Like, that's her life goal is to heal people, and then she gets imbued with all of this power that's specifically designed for destruction and killing and slaying. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I really enjoyed like being inside Nina's head during this entire process of learning that what her powers were and what she could do, and also just the idea of her having to deal with the slayer instinct kind of taking over what her normal instincts would be, and trying to find that balance. And it was really kind of an interesting perspective. There are a few other things that I really appreciate about this, but I can't really go into them without spoilers. But I will say overall I did enjoy a lot of like the Easter eggs and the cute throwback references that it had. I really liked the Buffy uh, representation in this. Like, I liked the way that this book handled Buffy. I thought it was a very well crafted way of doing it. And yeah, in general, I'd say I'm still in favor of this book. Like, it's not amazing. I don't ever want people to think that I hold this to the standard of the Buffy television show, but I think it's a fun read. I think it's something that kind of adds a little extra to that world, and gives me some things to ponder that I wasn't necessarily pondering before I read this book. But yeah, ultimately I felt like the ending was kind of rushed. There was a lot of red herrings that made it very convoluted at the end, and I'm still not entirely like into the way it all wrapped up. It was kind of a weird hokey ending, and I'm just gonna say that the solution at the end of the day was pretty dumb. But that's okay. That's fine. It can be ridiculous and over the top. Hey, you have to realize this is between season 8 and season 9 of the Buffy comics, and if I know anything about the Buffy comics, they are ridiculous and over the top. So you just have to assume that after the events of the television show, things just get bonkers, and that's okay. But that is it for that one, and that is it for this vlog. I will see you in another vlog at some point in time, and I will talk about other books. I have some books on the docket, possibly one by Lee Bardugo that I'm real nervous about.